Welcome to the Thriving Artist Podcast, where we share strategies and support for artists to thrive.
We know that the art world can feel like a lonely place, and we want to provide a network of support, impactful strategies, and an abundance of encouragement to help you grow your authentic art career.
We're your hosts. I'm Jamie Smith.
And I'm Kaylan Butine, and we are also the co-founders of the Thrive Together Network, a community of female and non-binary identifying artists and artists who are caregivers.
We truly believe in community over competition, and we're so glad you're here. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome. We've got an honest and important conversation happening on the Thriving Artist podcast today. Welcome to episode number 5, where we are chatting about how we can authentically show up even when we can't give 100%. I'm Kaylan Butine, one of your hosts, an Enneagram 1 Capricorn, and a recovering all or nothing type thinker.
And I am your other host, Jamie Smith, and I'm a real maximalist personality, a Gemini, and I'm working on the idea that done is better than perfect. And it sure is a work in progress. Today's episode is an important one, especially for artists like ourselves who have a lot on our plate. It's so easy to walk through this world and carry these expectations that you should always be giving 100%, being attentive 100%, and being there for other people. We have a lot that we're trying to juggle all the time. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be a myth in the art world that there are these artists and they have this insane drive to create all the time. I always notice the artists that the myth for me is they carry a sketchbook and they draw on it wherever they are. A bus stop, perfect place to draw. This No, I have to be in a quiet studio. Yeah. They also are these artists that make masterpieces and never run out of creative ideas. And I want to know, Kaylan, do you believe these artist unicorns truly exist?
No.
Because we're fed this lie.
No, there's no such thing as an artist unicorn. There's just us, humans, who are messy and complicated. That's it.
Just horses. Just regular old horses.
Just us horses. The truth is that the majority of us really are not able to show up and give 100% of our effort to anything ever. We are distracted. We're complicated little horses. We're fickle. We have a lot of needs and we have a lot of desires and feelings that get in the way of our ability to be laser focused and to be committed to things wholeheartedly and with passion all of the time. And not only is this normal that we can't show up and give 100% all of the time, it's actually, I think, healthy to be a person who cares about many things at once and who is always sort of moving and sifting through different levels of engagement and awareness. So we hope that this episode and our 4 tips help you feel better about whatever state of mind you're in and help you feel more accepted and accept yourself for the messy, distracted, beautiful human being, human horse that you are. First, as we move forward on this journey of showing up authentically while simultaneously accepting our inability to give 100% all the time, the first thing I want us to do is to normalize the gray, the Gray, because that is how you spell gray.
Hard to know sometimes.
Jamie, if you're a Grey person,
I know. It ebbs and flows.
We're going to have to talk. Anywhere we can expand our thinking, our black and white thinking, and look for shades of gray will take us out of that pluralistic all or nothing brain that really is what causes us to have these unrealistic expectations of ourselves. So when we can, let's try to avoid language and words that hold us in that black or white, all or nothing mode. So some of these words are always, never, all, every, must, good, bad, failure, success, these kind of finite, concrete words, this language. Can we release ourselves from these absolutes, can we understand that a more authentic way to be and move through the world is to accept that so few things are actually very concrete, right?
Totally. And I think it's exciting to put these concrete words to it.
It is.
I think we're
Especially as
trained to be
artists. Like we
totally.
just want something concrete. It all feels murky.
I think we're trained with the New Year's resolution type thing, the goal setting, productivity culture that we're in, that you're going to have a new goal and it's going to be the new way you live in this. So
The
I know for
best.
me, the best, the final.
Mhm.
I know for me, I've set lots of studio goals in the past or tried to pick up a new habit in my studio. And when I put these types of words to it or make very strict goals, I can feel a switch from normal, healthy Jamie operating to hyper focused. The A-type personalities get pushed out. The workaholicisms are coming out, and it doesn't end well. It's very hard to maintain something always or never, right? Those are things that are very hard to do. These sort of binaries of all or nothing in my art career don't work for me. I also find this is always the case in my eating habits or gym routines. And we love to do that. This is the new thing we're doing, and it's always going to be this way. And I feel like what I love so much about incorporating the gray is a softer approach. And I think it actually brings up why it's hard. And it's the gray is the work. It's all those days of showing up to the studio, showing up to the gym, that we don't want to count when we're thinking about setting the big goal. Where it will just be this new way. We forget about the hard work of the gray.
Yeah, the gray is not always sexy, but
no,
it is soft and safe. And
I mean, my gray sweatpants that kept me through COVID times also weren't sexy, but
they felt good. They felt good.
I feel accepted. Yes.
Okay. So our first tip was normalize that gray. I'm wondering, Jamie, if you want to share what our second tip is for showing up authentically, even when we can't give 100%.
I love this one because it's, again, another kind of hard thing to do. And it's sort of this sitting within ourselves. And it's allow for paradoxes. So with a paradox, it's basically two opposites can be true at the same time. And when we get into that binary thinking, those things can't be true. But in the gray, we can have two things that are true. So we can, make a decision, but know that the world is also going to happen and two things can sit together. So for example, we thought of, a gallerist experience. Working with a gallerist, you could have a hard time. It could be very frustrating because you're used to doing things on your own. But by letting that in, it can be incredibly fruitful for your career. Both can exist. And it doesn't mean that I'm never going to do it again, or it always happens this way. Those words are what we want to get rid of. And a really big one that I love as an example is your day job. So if you have a day job and you're doing other things other than your artwork, sometimes it can feel like it's limiting your art career. But it can also provide freedom financially or with other ways that provide major growth for you. So we can, that idea of a love-hate relationship, we can live in both of these very big emotions. Yeah. I also, another one, this is for you and me, Kaylan, you can be an artist and a structured A-type personality all at the same time.
Yes, you can.
A pretty little package with a bow on it. So we really want to encourage you for allowing paradoxes to exist. And what it becomes is actually accepting yourself and acceptance of the situation you're in. And when we put these binaries to it, that's when we're trying to say we don't accept it. We want it to be different. But I love the softening in a paradox and saying these gray sweatpants aren't sexy, but they can give me the life that I need to live right now.
Oh, so good.
So I think this is really, and I love this one because I think it helps us to live imperfectly, and that's okay. And it's, it's all in the time we're growing, and it really shows a growth, ability for growth that other things don't do when we put firm words to it.
Yeah. And I think too, like, one thing that allowing paradoxes to exist for me shows me is that I don't have to compartmentalize every area of my life, and I don't have to perfect every area. Like, I can walk through the world and feel really great about decisions that I make, even though they're not perfect ones, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of allowing that ambivalence to exist is really key to giving yourself grace to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So this tip also is a great on-ramp for talking about our third tip for showing up authentically, even when we can't give 100%. And that is to give ourselves acceptance and grace. This one, out of all of these, is much easier said than done, but it's also probably the one that we need to hear the most. I know you guys, and I know Jamie, and I know myself, and I know that we are really hard on ourselves. In this community, in the art world, in being women and folks who feel sort of marginalized and pushed out of the system, a lot of that language gets internalized and becomes the voice of the inner critic that speaks so loudly. Especially those of us who only want to be seen and understood. It just becomes really hard to accept the messages that we're not doing enough, and to start to speak those things to ourselves. So I just want to invite you, Jamie and I want to invite you to accept yourself and to give yourself more grace, especially in certain examples, like when you show up to a meeting and you can only half tune in, or you can only listen to the first half and then you get interrupted by a kid. Accept yourself when you slip past a studio deadline because you got sick, or maybe it took a while longer to learn something new and you weren't as productive as you hoped, right? Accept who you are, the artist that you are, the human, the horse that you are right now in this moment, and give that person grace for the journey that you're on. Don't hold yourself, accountable to the person that you want to be in the future, but just be present with who you are right now and give that person grace.
And something that helps me with this, and it's a word that you use a lot, Kaylan, is the idea of a season.
Mm-hmm.
And it again goes back to that binary language where it's nothing final. This is actually just a season where I can't show up to every art and tea session on the Thrive Together network,
right?
But I will come, and once this season is over, and you might look back and realize that we're often very gentle to ourselves later.
Mm-hmm.
And we look back and said, I got sick 3 times over 2 months. Of course I wasn't my best self. But when you're in it, you spend so much time thinking about, how you're not performing.
Mm-hmm.
So just really, I invite you to think of things in seasons. It's very gentle. It's very feminine energy. It's a lot of feminine power to accept yourself in that way.
Yes.
And it's helped me a lot.
Absolutely.
And with that is, our fourth tip, what we're just kind of end on, is the importance of safe spaces, places that you can show up with the season you're in, the place you're in, because we have so many places and spaces in our life that it feels like we can't, especially as caregivers, or if you have a lot of responsibilities that involve other people. We often put it on ourselves that we really need to show up. And sometimes we do, and that's just the reality. But in these spaces that you have control over, that you can kind of exercise your right to put energy towards something, that is a place that you can be you. And it can be as simple as that. And we hope for us, that is a goal with the Thrive Together Network. It's a goal with this podcast, is a place for folks to show up as they are, and they can be 100% engaged, come to everything. And we have members like that, and that encourages us, and it's so exciting. And then we have members that just can't all the time, but we want to just continue to show up and be there because we know how important it is for us. So we love being in community with real, complex, complicated little horses. You don't have to be a unicorn. We're just in gray sweatpants, regular old horses over here. And we're hoping that, by us showing up and being that way as a community, that we hope it transcends to the art world, and the art world can be an inclusive and self-accepting place, which, it's hard to do, but we're staying in this gray area to work on it.
Yes, we are.
So if you want to learn more, you want to join us on the network, it's thrivetogethernetwork.com. And we'd love to have you just as you are.
Yep, just as you are. And we promise not to carry the gray sweatpants and horse metaphor beyond this episode.
We talk a lot about what we're going to talk about, and that never came up.
No,
it just came up on our live recording.
But it was really good. We all need a pair of gray sweatpants. And sometimes we just need to accept that we're horses and not unicorns. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wrapping up, as always, we are here for you. Jamie and I love you guys. We're cheering you on, and we firmly believe in the work that you are doing as thriving artists.